So we're going to be starting and we're live. Okay, you can go on.
Okay, I can start.
Yes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ushuke Salaki, and I am a front-end developer and blockchain developer in the Starknet ecosystem for a while. So these are my handles. So this week we're going to be going into front-end integration in Starknet ecosystem, mainly how to build dApps on Starknet and integrate it with deployed smart contracts. So I'm excited to be one of the tutors. Thanks to Kevin and the GIDA team for giving me this opportunity. Okay, so before we start, I don't know, can I have like a show of hands to see um who and who if you're new to front end development, can you like react to react so I can see like the number, or can you type? Okay, all right. So 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 you have not had any encounter with HTML, CSS, or JavaScript before. React again. If you have never had encounter with HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. Okay, so basically everyone here has had one or two encounters with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so let's start. So I will introduce myself. So we're going to be talking about how to build front end on Starknet. And we're going to be looking at it under the following headers: compilation process, ABIs, front-end development, frameworks, and we're going to have a coding session at the end and coding session requirements. So let's let's do a quick recap of how Cairo contracts work, meaning the compilation process. So as we all know, or we have all been taught, smart contracts are written in Cairo and compiled into something called STRK code. After then, in the process of deployment, you first have to declare your contract. When during the process of declaration, a class hash is being returned. And as we know, with a single class hash, we can deploy multiple instances of a smart contract. So for to deploy a particular, you will now deploy a particular class hash. After deployment, a contract address is returned and an ABI is exposed. So this is the process of compilation and deployment in Cairo smart contracts. So I know maybe you're asking, what is an ABI? So an ABI is a very integral part of front-end development on Starknet. So what is it? So an ABI is a blueprint that defines how to interact with the smart contract. It specifies the contract functions with the parameters they take and how to format data for calls. So basically, an ABI is basically like the DNA of a smart contract, where we can see functions that the smart contract has. We can see the inputs, we can see the outputs, and we can be able to, at a glance, we can see what the contract contains. So it's like a skeleton of a smart contract. So I have a sample ABI here. You can easily view ABIs on Voyager or StackScan. I don't know if you guys can see my screen clearly. So this is Voyager. Voyager is a Starknet Explorer along with StackScan. So the way you access an ABI of a particular contract, first of all, you have to make sure, where is your contract being deployed on? Is it being deployed on the mainnet or on testnet, Sepolia? So you have to toggle based on where the contract was being deployed. For us, the contract was being deployed on Sepolia. So you go to Sepolia, you can see the basic contract information. Then there's this tab, contract data. You can see this tab, code. Code is where you can find the ABI of your contract that you're looking for. If you scroll down, you see contract ABI. So you can see it's an array, a JSON array, where you can see the implementation being used. You can see the struct. You see you can see it's one of the structs that we use, student struct, where we have the first name, last name, phone number, age, and its act. And you can see the types, the variable types of each of the keys in the struct. Then we can see the interface where you can see all the functions. We have the add students function, which takes in these following inputs and gives us an output of boolean. Then we also have another function that is called get students. So then we have get all students. We can see how the function operates with the inputs and outputs. So so that's basically how the ABI works. So so that's basically how the ABI works. I don't know if there's any questions so far. If it's all good, can you leave a thumbs up so I know that everyone is following? So okay, so everyone is following. Um, everyone is following. So that's it for an ABI. So the next thing I'm going to look at, what is front-end development? So front-end development is the process of creating the parts of a website or web application that users can see and interact with. It involves using web technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to design the layouts, appearance, and features that make a website look good and function smoothly. So you know how in every application we have two sides of it. We have the front end and the back end. So take for example applications like Twitter. For example, applications like Twitter. You know how if you go to x.com, we have this interface that is given to us where we can like posts, we can make comments, and so on. We can basically scroll, we can interact with different posts and all. So that's the part that we see. And I mean, if we like a comment, you see that a number updates. If you comment, the comments number updates, and whenever you refresh that page, the current amount of likes and comments is always displayed. So it's always being fetched from maybe a database. So that's how applications are divided into two. So for today, we're going to be looking at how to build front-end applications that can be accessed through the web. So so we're going to make use of a front-end framework called Next.js. But what are front-end frameworks? So front-end frameworks are basically tools that help developers to build websites and web applications more efficiently. They provide pre-made structures, components, and code patterns that make it easier to handle complex tasks like displaying data, handling user interactions, or updating the website without needing to reload the page. So before front-end frameworks, building web applications or single-page applications used to be very tedious in the sense that everything that was to be done was done very manually, where you have a lot of duplicate code, or I don't know, I saw that most people have experience with HTML and CSS. So if you're building a web application, maybe with vanilla HTML and CSS, and maybe you want to make use of a nav bar, a common scenario is when you need to make use of a nav bar. A nav bar is used in all pages of the application. So if you want to use a nav bar, you have to write out that long piece of code for a nav bar. If you have 5 pages, you need to rewrite it 4 or 5 times. 4 or 5 times. So different aspects like that, maybe card components and so on. So you see how you need to always rewrite those code. But with the event of front-end frameworks, we can break such pieces of our web application into things called components. So components are modular and they help us with easy customization and they can be reused easily throughout our application. So instead of writing that code so many times, we just need to write it once and we can import it wherever we need it. So we're going to be making use of so for front-end frameworks, the most popular JavaScript front-end frameworks that we have things like React, we have Vue.js, we have Next.js, we have Astro, we have Svelte.js. So those are the most commonly used one, but there are others that you can check out. So for today's class, we're going to be making use of a JavaScript framework called Next.js. So Next.js is a framework built on top React.js, which is built on top JavaScript. So which makes use of components as I made mention of. So during our project, we are going to be seeing how I'm going to be walking you through an introduction to Next.js so that we can all be on the same page on how to get started with Next.js. So is there any questions so far? And is everything clear? So you can unmute your mic if you have any question. Does anybody have any question? If you have any question, you can leave a thumbs up. Um, Leave a thumbs up. All right. So let's continue. So building frontend on Starknet, we have some libraries that Starknet provides for us that makes it easier for frontend integration. So the libraries that provided right stack, we have Starknet Rust, which is used for in- integrating with Rust front end apps. We have Starknet.py, which is used for Python applications. Then we have Starknet.js, which is used for JavaScript applications. So under Starknet.js, we also have some others like Starknet React and Starknet Kit. So for this session, for this week, we're going to be making use of Starknet.js. So what is Starknet.js? Starknet.js is basically a tool that helps developers to connect their dApps their dApps to Starknet. It enables easy interaction with smart contracts, such as sending transactions or getting information from the blockchain, like checking transaction status or reading contract data. So in summary, Starknet.js is a tool, is a Starknet.js is a tool that helps us to read and write from the blockchain. We all know that smart contracts are made up of two types of functions. We have read functions and write functions. So read functions are basically they help us to get data from the blockchain. We read from the blockchain, and re- um, and reading from the blockchain does not require transaction costs. There's no kind, unlike writing, because writing you have to sign a transaction. Writing basically changes information on the blockchain or alters data on the blockchain. So to handle that from the front end, we have Starknet.js that help us do that. And we have the documentation that is linked. So you can check that documentation out where you can see how it works, how to set it up and all. Then we have Starknet React. Starknet React is a library that provides tools and hooks to interact with Starknet, making it simple to connect users' wallets and fetch blockchain data directly from React components. So you know how in traditional apps, whenever you want to log into something like maybe YouTube, you always need to sign in with your Gmail account. So you click sign in, you have to choose the Gmail account that you want. So your Gmail serves as your identity on the app. But in Web3 applications or dApps, you connect to applications using your wallets. Either you use Bravos or you use Agent. So that serves as your identity in the application. Any operation you want to perform on the app is done via your wallet. So that's how Starknet React works. So we're going to the coding session shortly. So these are the requirements that we have. So you need to have a code editor, VS Code. You need to have Node.js installed. So you can click on the link and you download this Node.js LTS version. So I don't know how many of us have that. So while we're asking questions, if you don't have it, you can set that up. Then an RPC provider URL. We're going to learn how to do that together. The contract address already provided. The contract API, we're going to learn how to extract it. Then the starter code. So well, so I want everybody to just try and get so who does not have VS Code installed? Can you raise like React. If you, I'm sure everybody has VS Code installed. So who does not have Node.js? Hello, Obina.
Yes, sir. Sorry to cut you short, sir. Will
Okay.
normal Node.js work, or it have to be this version of Node.js?
It should work. It should work. But to be on the
Okay, sir.
safer
Thank you.
side, maybe like it's outdated. Maybe you can just use the opportunity to update it. But
Okay,
it should
cause I
work.
okay. Thank you, sir. I try updating my own up to version 20 points something. That is
But it should
yesterday.
work.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So Don Chris, you raise your hand.
Yeah. So when you're done downloading the Node.js, like please like you just leave like a guide on how to set it up, or just to download it and leave it, like how to run the packages.
Okay, so when I can't show that right now because I already have Node.js installed. So once you install it, you can just follow. I think you just need to click next. There's no any special setup. Just click on next, then finish, and it installs. There's no special setup in between. So that's how you can set it up. So maybe you can try it now. If you have any issues, you can tell us on the chat. So does anybody have any other question, any other concerns, or something they want me to clarify on of what I've said so far? Hello, Wisdom Genesis. I think you're just coming. How is it going? Are you following Wisdom Genesis? Also, Joel Ubeta. How is it going? Can you guys like maybe unmute and talk to me? Also, Chisom Lovett. I don't think you were here before.
Uh,
So
uh, Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry. I'm using um
you're using what? Hello? Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay.
hello.
Hi, what's up? So you said you're using what?
Can you hear me? Yeah,
I
can you
can
hear
hear
me
you.
now?
I can hear you.
Okay, I said I'm using Ubuntu Linux operating system. So I just clicked on the Node.js, the download this thing. So it downloaded it as a zip file. Then um when I extracted the file, so I just got the folder there. Then trying to open the folders, just opening the folder like that, like I can't see any other thing to do.
Okay. I think there's a way you could install it. You could install it using sudo. So let's ask ChatGPT. How can I download Node.js? So yeah, so just go to ChatGPT. It gives you all the steps that you need to follow to set it up. Right? Are you still here?
Yeah. Okay, I'm on it.
Yeah. So Lovez Chisom, can you like unmute and see how the class is going so far? or can you type? Joel Obeta, you raised your hand.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. How's it going?
Very fine, sir. I'm trying to install the Node.js. That's what I'm doing right now, sir.
All right. Joel, it's like you raised your hand.
No, no, that was actually a mistake, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, but how is it going?
Yeah, actually, I'm following up with my phone. Like, there's no light
Oh,
over here, so I'm not really doing
okay.
anything. I'm just kind of present.
Ah, okay, no problem. So maybe you can practice what we do so far later.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I think we can continue. What have done, Chris? What's up, Chris? Is there any update?
Yes, I'm still running the. Yeah. I've had update on Chat GPT, so I'm just want to run the command now on my terminal.
Okay. So maybe you can just like follow along first, then maybe you can try it out later because of
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I trust that everybody has Node.js installed. Even though you don't have it installed yet, you can just follow along first. So after having Node.js installed, the starter code, Kevin sent it to you. So if you come to the repo, you are greeted with this. So what you do is that you can fork the repo. You can fork the repo like this. But make sure that when you are forking the repo, you make sure you untick this so you have access to the other branches in the repo. Make sure you untick this and you create the fork. So when you create the fork, you can, after creating the fork, you clone it. You clone it to your local machine. So I already have it here. Okay. So you clone it to your local machine like this. So you just run git clone, then you paste the link and you clone it. So then yeah. So while you do that, please, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to stop me and ask me anything you're not clear on. So after cloning the repo, let me just go through what we have so far. The only thing that you not have is this folder called contracts, which I'll update the repo later so that you can have that available. But for now, it's not really needed. So we have this folder, student registry DAP starter. So what you do is that you cd into that folder. Okay. So you cd into the folder, then you run npm install dash dash legacy peer dips. I'll paste this in the chat like this. So you need to run this command after you've cloned it. So what this command does is that it installs the node dependencies used in the application. So I don't know. Who is on the same page? If you're not on the same page, can you react? If you're not where we are right now, can you react on the chat? Or if you're not following, what's up,
Excuse
Emmanuel?
me. You see,
Yeah. You said I am seeing the student registry DApp starter. That's where I will
Yeah.
CD into.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after you cd into it, you run npm install legacy dash dash legacy peer deps. So who else is not like following or up to date? Please be honest. Just drop a thumbs up in case you are not following, so that we can know, so we can carry everyone along. What's up, Uzubichi? I hope I pronounced that well. Can you like unmute and tell us where you are at right now?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to grab your stuff. And if you can
Okay. Okay. Did you join at the beginning?
I just joined some minutes ago.
What?
I just joined some minutes ago.
Oh, so that's the problem. We've not gone too far, but we're already like setting up the coding environment. But the call is being recorded, so just try along to just follow up from where we are starting off.
All right, no problem.
Yeah. So
Or
who?
you can just check the WhatsApp group and get the link to the code there and follow along.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. So is anybody not following along? Is there any other person that has any issue? What's up, Chris? Maybe Chris is not around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
think I'm done setting the Node.js up. Yeah.
okay, no problem. So we can start. So let me walk you through the code base as it is right now. So this code base is being scaffolded by Next.js for us. So let me show you the Next.js documentation. Um so you see, the description here is Next.js is the React framework for the web. So it's a framework that is built on top of React.js. So you can read more about Next.js. You can go to their docs, their blogs, and so on, so that you can get more information about it. So in order to start up a Next.js application, it's as simple as running this line like this: npx create next app at latest. Don't run it. I'm just showing you. So this is how you create a Next.js application. In creating a Next.js application, we have our application scaffolded for us, where we have our app folder, we have our env file, and so many other starter files that will go over. So that's what Next.js does. It's abstract so many things for us that we don't have to worry about. So we can just get straight to building our web applications. That's why we make use of Next.js. So in this starter code, we are greeted with, let me look at the others first. We have tailwind config.js. I mentioned that we make use of three web technologies when building web applications. We have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is basically for the structure of the website, web application, where on top we have a header. In the header, we have a nav. Then we have a hero section. We have a footer. So that gives us the structure of our web application, the semantics. We also have CSS. CSS is cascading style sheet, which helps us with styling. It enables us to easily style our application with colors, create layouts, animations, and so on. Because without CSS in an application, it basically looks like Wikipedia, something like black and white, and it's not really attractive or appealing to end users. So that's why we make use of CSS. Is somebody okay? Can I zoom in? All right. So I don't know. Is this clear enough? Is this clear enough?
Go a bit more. Go a bit more.
Okay. How about now?
It's good.
All right. So as I said, so CSS is basically for styling to make our website more appealing. So then we also have JavaScript. JavaScript enables us to create logic within our applications. Logic such as when you click a button, a modal pops up, scrolling effects, and so on. All are done with JavaScript. JavaScript helps us to send data, fetch data from the backend, from the database, and so on. So we have CSS. In CSS we have frameworks. CSS frameworks, which makes styling easier for us. Some common CSS frameworks that we have are styled components, Tailwind CSS, Bootstrap, and SASS. SAS. Those are the common CSS frameworks that we have. So they make writing CSS easier for us. So for this session, we're going to be making use of Tailwind. Tailwind is the most common CSS framework. What Tailwind basically does is that Tailwind provides us with a set of classes, predefined classes that apply different styles for us. So we don't have to open a new CSS file and write out all our styles. You can just make use of their classes that are available to us, and those classes have set styles that we can make use of. So that's why we are using Tailwind CSS for this. So for the Tailwind CSS, we have this tailwind.config where we can configure our Tailwind, maybe add more classes, set variables, and so on. So that's what this Tailwind config.js does. So we're not going to be using this in this class. We have a README. So README is Markdown language that provides more information about the repo. So you can go through it and see like what Next.js is all about. You have access to the docs and so on. Then we have post CSS config. This is also set up alongside with Tailwind. So you're not really going to touch this. So then we have package.json. Package.json is basically a file that lists out all dependencies that are being used in the application and the scripts that are available for that application. So we have some scripts here. So we have a script for launching the dev environment, the local host. We have for building, we have for starting, then we have for linting, then we have the dependencies being used in the application. So you're not really editing this by hand. The package.log is also the same thing as the package.json. Then we have next config. This configs the Next.js environments. Same thing with the JS config. Then gitignore. Gitignore is basically a file that specifies what files and what folders are not meant to be pushed to GitHub. What files and folders are not meant to push to GitHub, because some files may have sensitive information, or they might be too heavy to be pushed. A common example is the Node.js modules folder. If you notice in the repo that is sent, if you open this folder here, you notice that you see this folder, node modules. This node modules folder is not located here because the node modules folder is actually very heavy and is not really needed to be pushed along, because a node module folder can hold like 300 MB, 400 MB worth of files, and it's not needed on GitHub because whenever you want access to that folder, you can just clone the repo and just run npm install as we did before. So you can just install it at any time instead of pushing it to GitHub, because that carries more space, unnecessary space. So when we run npm install, what actually happens when an npm install is that it goes to package.json and looks at all the dependencies we are making use of and the dev dependencies and installs all of them for us. So that's the use of the package.json file that we have. It acts as a directory of all the things that we need. It acts like a grocery list for us. So it just goes to package.json and sees everything we need for this application and installs it for us in the node modules folder. So that's basically what it does. So we have other files that are git ignored. So such as maybe files that have API keys that you don't want people to misuse or spam. You get. Then we also have ARC links rc.json. This helps us with linting. It helps us to be able to spot out bugs in our code easily. So we can see errors that we have in our code and address them as soon as possible before we push it to production. So it does not have issues when we finally deploy or so on. Then we have env.example. So what this does is it holds we have variables called environment variables, sorry. So these variables are variables such as API key, sensitive information that we don't want to be pushed to production. We put them in env.env. So the most commonly used things here are API keys, JSON web tokens, bearer tokens. They are just sensitive information that you don't want to be misused in your application. You save them here like API keys. And for this particular application, we're going to be saving our public, our RPC URL key. So I'll show us how to get the RPC URL key. So I think that's the first thing we'll do now. So in this file, we have .env.example. What this env file does is that it shows us all the environment variables that are used within the application. Then you can go and find your own and apply it. So you notice that even though you cloned my my repo, you don't have the URL is not here. It just shows us that in this application you need to have this value. So what you need to do is that you need to create a new file in the student registry dap starter. A new file, you call it .env.local like this. So this is where you're going to actually keep your value. So what you do is that you copy this like this and you paste it here. So if you notice in git ignore, we have you see how we are git ignoring .env.local here, because it knows this is where we are going to keep our API key. So when we are pushing to GitHub, this file is not going to be part of it, only env.example. So only env.example is going to be pushed. So I don't know, is there any questions so far or anything you want me to explain again? So don't be shy, you can just raise your hand and I'll select you. So let's give that 10 seconds. Okay, so there are no questions, right? Okay, what's the difference between the local env? Okay, the difference is that the difference is that in env.example, when you clone this repo that I gave you, so in the repo that was shared to you guys, if you open this folder, you see we have env.example here. So you looking at this repo, you can see that in this application, we need an environment variable. And the environment variable that is being used in this application is the RPC URL, right? So in order for your application to work, you after cloning the repo, you need to create a new file called .env.local. So this is now what this is going to be the variables you are going to be using. So this is where you're going to specify your own RPC URL. You generate it. I'll show you how to generate this. So while you are developing your application, this is what is going to be. It's going to be fetching the variable from here, like this. So let me show you where it is being used. If you enter app, if you come to layouts, no, if you open the app folder and you go to components, you see this providers.jsx. You can see where we are using the variable here. We're using process.env.next public RPC URL. This is where we are making use of the variable. So it's going to look for this variable in your env.local. So it's expecting you to have an env.local where it can fetch the information from. That's why we create this file, so that I can get this variable from it. So that is the difference. So because it's a sensitive information, it's an API key. What is an API key? An API key is basically a code or a link that helps us to be able to fetch data and interact with the blockchain. So because of rate limits, you have to keep your API keys personal to you, because some people may use that API key to spam the blockchain, and maybe it might get blocked. So you keep it close to you so that you know that you are the only one making use of your RPC URL. So that's why whenever you're using things like this, you make sure that you don't push it to your GitHub for safety precaution, basically. So I don't know if there's any other question, or if I've answered that. Hi, Wisdom.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for the clarification. I have some other confusion that I would like to be cleared on.
Okay.
The env.example, does it mean that when you upload your this thing, so there will not be there will be no RPC URL in the file, or what?
Yes, it's just to show. Normally, you're just supposed to do it like this. In case maybe you have another variable, let's say next API key, like this. You get me? So it's just to show other users that want to make use of your application. So it acts like documentation, basically. So when anybody that looks at your code on GitHub knows that this app, you make use of these two variables. Because if you don't include this file, and they want to, maybe if they want to clone it and they want to run the application, it does not work for a weird reason. They will not know what is happening. But having this env.example tells the other user that, oh, there is an env variable that you need to have. You need to have these two env variables. If not, the application will not work. That's basically what the file does for you. So you leave it empty, so they can go and get their own and make use of it.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand now.
Okay. So does anybody have any other question? Okay, so in the absence, if you have any questions at all, you can stop me at any time and I'll respond the best I can. So I guess everyone is following along. So the next thing we're going to, I said that the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to learn how to get the RPC URL. So in your env.local, so RPC, what's the meaning of RPC? Is remote procedure call. So you can either get it from alchemy.com. This is alchemy.com. This is an RPC provider, or you can get it from Infura. Infura.io. So this is also another RPC provider. So you need to create an account. You need to create an account with them. do any of them. But for this class, I'm going to make use of Alchemy. So to get Alchemy, you just click on this, get your API key. So maybe for you guys that don't have an account, the procedure is that you have to create an account and verify. Then you have your dashboard. So you go to apps here. Then you go to in this app. This is my latest app. So you can see I've done 12.5 thousand requests in the last 24 hours. I've had 103 field requests and so on. So you click on it first. So you click on endpoints. This is what we want, endpoints for this particular app. So for the endpoints, we are going to make use of Starknet. So this Starknet endpoints, make sure you change it to Sepolia like this, and make sure it's at HTTPS. So this is the RPC URL link. You copy it and you paste it in here like this. No need to put it in quotation marks. So let me send you guys another one that you guys can make use of. On the chat, in case maybe to create the account will take time, so you can just make use of this RPC URL instead. So after you've pasted it, you make sure you paste it in .env.local and you save it so you can close these files. So the next thing we are going, so while I continue, you guys should do that quickly. So the next folder is the node modules folder. So as I explained before, this node modules folder is gotten by running npm install. It's gotten by running npm install. So we're not really going to be making use of that. Then the main file, the main folder is the app folder. This is the main application. This is where the main application is being stored. And we have several subfolders. So let's start with the page.jsx. So no, let's start with layouts. So in layouts.jsx, so for those that are familiar with HTML, you know that whenever you want to start a HTML file, you have the HTML tag, and within it you have the body. You get, so this is the root layout of every Next.js application, a root layout. And within it we have the metadata. This is the title. You know how we have normally we're supposed to have a head here like this, where we specify the title and description and all that, but that is not how it's done in Next.js. It's done with this metadata variable where you have the title and you have the description. So this is how the root layouts is done. So I changed the layout to have this. We have these providers components. So remember when I was talking about how if you have a header, like maybe you have a nav bar. So with front-end frameworks, you can abstract your nav bar into a nav bar component. So let me show you. It's quick. You guys don't need to follow along. So in this components file, we can have something called hello. So we have a hello component. Hello guys, can you hear me? Okay, sorry, my internet went off. All right, so I was talking about components. So I said that let's do something quickly. You guys don't need to follow along. I just want to explain something. The way you you initialize a new component is that you write the component name followed by the extension JSX, because we're making use of JavaScript, not TypeScript. If we're using TypeScript, we use TSX. So the reason why it's called JSX is because we're not making use of, right here, you think that this is like this, you think this is HTML. You have the normal button elements with the span elements and so on, but this is actually not HTML. It's something called JSX. JSX is basically like syntactic sugar that helps you to mix HTML and JavaScript together in one. So that's why, hence it is called JSX. So so after creating this file, hello.jsx, we need to initialize a new component. So what are components basically? Components are basically functions that return JSX code. So to do that, you have a normal function. You have function, then the component's name. Let's say we want to call it hello, like this. Then we return JSX. So let's say we want to return a H1 here. Say, hello, my name is Oshoke, right? Like this. So we need to export it. So we run export default hello. So what this export default says is that whenever so this is like the default, this is the default export from this particular file. That's what it means. So we have this hello component, and let's call it so we just so to call that component, we just open the quotation mark, then we write hello like this. So this is how we call the component. So we need to import it from above here. So we write import hello from this. So to run our application, you guys can do this. To run your application on localhost, you run npm run dev like this. So you have this localhost link up for you. So you open it. It's on localhost 3000. So you can see these components being rendered here. So if in a case where, so just imagine this being a nav bar. You see how we can easily call a nav bar. So imagine maybe you want to make use of this hello component like 5 different times. We can just do it as many times as we want and save. And you can see how it is being rendered multiple times for us. So you see how React and Next.js makes development easier for us. And it also helps us with usability and customization. So we have things called props. Props are ways that we can customize our components. So what if in a scenario where in this hello components, we don't want to always say hello, my name is Oshoke. What if I want to be able to pass in a name that I want to say hello to? So the way you could do that is that within your function declaration, you can pass in an object argument like this. So you can just write the name of the prop that you want in these components. One of the props that we want is name, right? So remember when I said this is not HTML, this is JSX. So JSX is the combination of HTML and CSS together. So HTML and JavaScript. So this is a variable. This is a JavaScript variable. How do we embed it into this JSX? So the way you do it is that you make use of curly braces like this, and you write the JavaScript expression that you want like this. So we want hello, my name is, then the name that is being passed as a prop is going to be displayed here. So how do we do it when we are calling the components? So when calling the components, we just write name. We know that so name is equal to, let's say we want justice right here. Yeah, then also here, maybe name, we want the name to be Don Chris Then here we want the name to be Kevin, right? We want the name to be Kevin. So if we come here, you can see how it's easily customizable. You see Justice, hello, my name is Justice, hello, my name is Don Chris, hello, my name is Kevin. You see how it's easily customizable and reusable. Before, in vanilla HTML and JavaScript, what we need to do is that we need to always, maybe instead of doing this, we need to do like this. Hello, my name is Oshuke. You have to write this full thing. It might not look like much because of maybe it's a one-liner, but just imagine things like headers or nav bars or card components that you need to reuse. So maybe a component that's like 50 or 60 lines long. Imagine you need it 5 times. You need to always rewrite it exactly. So that's like 300 lines of code for something that you can just define in a separate component and just call it wherever you need it. And it's easily customizable. So that's what Next.js and React does for us by providing these components that we can easily customize and reuse wherever in our application. So I don't know if there's any question or if there's anything you'd like to see. So let me go back to the way things were. So if you have any question, please can you speak up? Or you raise your hand. Is there any question at all? If you are following, raise do a thumbs up. Everybody's paying attention. Okay, Maxwell, what's going on? Maxwell. Up again. We can move on. Do a thumbs up, everyone. Okay. Where are you? Alright, so we can move on. So that's how Next.js works. So so in this layout, we have the providers, in these providers components. What does providers do exactly? So let's open it. So for providers, we have these components that takes in this children prop. What is children? Children is anything. The children prop, if you notice in the layouts, they didn't do it like this. Children passing, they didn't pass it in. Children is like a default prop available to every component. So the way children props are rendered is that instead of calling your component like this, whenever you have a children prop, what you do is that you have opening and closing brackets. Then whatever is passed in between the opening and closing tags is regarded as the children. That's basically what it does. And in this instance, the children of the layouts page is the page.tsx, is the page.jsx. So that's to explain that. So for the providers, so that's it for the children prop. So for the provider, the first thing we do in the providers is that we get our connectors. So we call this function, this hook from Starknet React, use injected connectors. We call it with the following arguments: with this object that has the recommended include recommended, order, and so on. So by calling this hook, we get access to a variable called connectors. So the connectors are basically the wallets that we can connect to, that users can use to connect to our dApp. And the two major wallets used in Starknet are Agent and Bravos. So those are the connectors that are going to be used in the application. So we set that up here like this. Then we return JSX. So we're going to return a Starknet config, a Starknet config component that has the following props. It has a chains prop. And in this chains prop, we're going to be making use of only Sepolia, not mainnet. Then we have the provider prop. So for the provider prop, this is where we instantiate our provider by passing in our node URL in our environment variable as we have specified earlier. Then we have this prop, the connectors prop. So this specifies the connectors that are going to be used in the application, which we got up here. Then the next thing is the explorer. What explorer are we going to be using in the application? So as I said before, there are two explorers mainly used in Starknet. We have Voyager and StarkScan. So for this application, we're going to be making use of Voyager. And all these variables are easily imported here. So we can import the Polia, Starknet config, Agent, Bravos, and so on. So then we pass in the children prop here. So as for this file, this is the file that you're going to use whenever you want to create a front end on Starknet. So it's something that you can easily copy paste. So you don't really need to cram it in your head. You just need to make use of it. So that's how the provider's component works. So I don't know, is there any question? Is there anything you want to ask concerning the provider's components?
Yeah, please. I don't fully understand this provider's component I just talked about.
Okay, so my bad. What does the provider's component? What's the main aim of it? So what this provider's component does is that it creates this environment for us to be able to use tools from Starknet React and Starknet JS. So it basically wraps our whole web application in a Starknet box. So that is what it does. So it's like a configuration. So that think of it like maybe you want to install Starlink in your house. You know, you need to get what they call that stuff, that mast that you put at the roof of your house. So that mast covers like the whole perimeter of your house. You get. So while you're within that perimeter, you can make use of Starlink services and Starlink internet. So that's the same thing we are doing for this provider's component. It's like we're setting an antenna on top of our application so that anywhere in our application, we have access to tools provided by Starknet JS or Starknet React. So that is basically what the providers does for us. So it's just like a setup that we need. So in this setup, we specify the connectors that we want to use, the chains, and the provider and the explorer. That's basically what we do in the providers components. I don't know if that makes it clearer for you.
Okay, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I understand now. So does it mean like normal way we relate with other components in Starknet? Any one you want to use, you have to import it. Is it something like that?
Yeah, you have to import it. Yeah. So does anybody have any other question? Okay, so let's move forward. If you have any question, feel free to stop me at any time. So back to our layout. So we have these providers. So the children that is being passed here is the page.tsx. The page.css is our landing point. This is where we start coding. This is where we start coding, and we already have some default code here. So if you open your terminal, I'm coming. If you open your terminal to start the application, you need to cd into student registry dap starter. Then you want npm run dev like this. So you have the local host, which you can click. Then you have this application set up for us. So what is this application basically? So this application is basically a student registry application where it's just a simple dApp where you have a table of students that are registered on the dApp, where you have and they're represented in the form of a table where you have their ID number, their surname, first name, phone number, and age. So you have this in a table that is well paginated, and we can go through. So we can go through it and see all the students. Then we have some functionality that we need to implement. So first of all, we need to get the total number of students from the blockchain. Then we need to get the balance of the connected user. Then the connect wallets functionality has already been implemented, which I'm going to explain. So but the disconnect is not yet working. So we'll do that in class. Then we have this refresh, it's meant to refresh. It's meant to refresh, like refresh the students. In case we have added the students, but it's not reflecting, we can refresh the students. Then we have this modal to add a new students. Then we can close that. Those are the basic functionalities that we're going to be implementing in this dApp. So I don't know if there are any questions, any concerns so far, or if can everyone see this? Is everybody on this page? All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask at any time. Okay. So since we have all of this, so let me go through each of it. So here we have the header, this header components. So in the header components basically shows us our logo and the connector. So that's what we have here. We have the logo here and the connector. So this is basically the header components up here. So let me go through the headers first. We'll come back to the header. Then below the header, we have a div. Then we have this total students. This total students component. So this is the total students component. So if we open that up, we can just see that we just have students, then we have this line, then we have the total. So this is the component. So by default, we are setting the total to 4. But the dummy students, the total we have is actually 20. So we have some dummy students that are being passed in. So that's what the total students components. We have the balance component also. So you see wallet balance like this. So this is the balance so in this component it displays the balance. So we need to fetch the balance using Starknet React, which we'll do later. So we have a dummy value here, so which are going to make it more dynamic, so I can be fetching from the blockchain, from the wallets directly. Then after that, we have this component, the students table component. So that is the table that is being rendered, and it has this prop called students. So for now, we're going to be passing in dummy students, which is an array that we have in data.js. So just an array of 20 students that we have for now. So as we go on in the class, we're going to be fetching the students directly from the blockchain and displaying it. So that's what the students table does. So within the students table, we also have the student table header. Then we have the student table row where the information is being displayed Then we have the student table control. That's what is everything down here. That's the pagination and these two buttons, and also our form, the form that we're making use of. So this is it. This is the components. So I don't know if there are any questions, or before we start, is there any question or anything you'd like to see, or any comments before we continue? Okay, since there's no question, so let's go back to our header components. In our header components, we have this connector components. So if we open, no, let's walk through the remaining folders to see what is actually here. So we've broken down the page.jsx. So let's look at the other folders. We have this ABIs folder. This is the folder we're going to keep our ABI, store our ABI. So within the ABIs folder, we have ABI.js, where we store the ABI of the contract. So that's the next thing we're going to do. We need to extract this particular ABI. So the contract address that we're going to be making use of is stored in, you go to the lib folder, then you see data.js. So this is the contract address. So you can just copy that. Then you go to Voyager. As I said, this contract was deployed on Sepolia. So you make sure that you're on the Sepolia network. Then you paste in the contract address. So after pasting, the contract address, we have this contract here. Okay. So after pasting the contract address, we're redirected to this page to show us information about the contracts. So we have the contract address, the balance, deployed at, and some basic information. So under contract data, we go to code. Then under contract ABI, we can just copy the ABI here, and we go to this ABI.js and replace this empty array with the ABI that we just imported like this. So this is how we import the ABI. So the next thing, we have this folder called assets. This is basically the folder where we keep our images or icons used in the application. So we're not going to really be using this folder. Then we have the components folder. This is where we keep all the components used throughout the application, and we've gone through all the components here. So then we have the fonts folder. This is where we keep the fonts used in the application. Then we have lib. So lib is where, in this lib folder, we have two files. We have the data.js, where we keep some data that we use in the application. For now, it's where we keep the contract address and an array of dummy students. The next thing we have the helper.js. So we have some functions that we've abstracted to this file that we use commonly. So we just keep it in this file so that we can easily import it wherever we need it, such as to shorten the address, format amounts, file 252 to string, and so on. SVG, these are icons that are represented as components that we can easily import. So yeah, a favicon. So what's a favicon? A favicon is basically the icon that appears. If you notice all my tabs here, you see icons right here. So these icons are favicons that you can set. So you can see for our local host, we have this fab icon here, this Vercel icon. So you see that's what we have here. Then we have globals.css. So when setting up Tailwind, we have to always impute these 3 lines like this. We need to always impute these 3 lines. Then so that's basically it for the folder structure. So I don't know if there's any question, if there's any file or folder you'd like me to go over again. Are we all on the same page? Can you leave a thumbs up if we are all on the same page? Guys, are you still on board? Is everyone still on board? So can you just give a thumbs up, give a thumbs up so I know, like, okay, so you said the ABI folder. So I should go over the ABI folder again. So when I said that the ABI of a contract is basically like the DNA of the contract, which shows us the how a contract is being structured, along with its functions. In the functions, we can see the inputs the functions require, how, and the output of the functions. You get me? So that's basically what it does. It shows us the structs that are available in the contract and so on. So that's what the ABI does. And it's an integral part whenever we want to integrate a smart contract to our front end. We always need that ABI for us to be imported. So we have this ABIs folder here. And within the ABIs folder, we have abi.js. So this is where we are going to store the ABI. One thing you should notice is that whenever you are using whenever you are integrating the front end, you may or may not have multiple ABIs. There are situations where maybe you are integrating 3 smart contracts at the same time. So you have 3 ABIs here. So you need to like name it appropriately. So you have maybe 3 files for your 3 different ABIs. So for this particular application, we are making use of only one ABI. So the ABI here, so for this particular ABI, we got the ABI from Voyager. So I said that if you want to get the ABI of any contract, what you need to do, you just need the contract address. So, and you need to know the network in which that contract was deployed in. So for this particular contract, we deployed it on the Sepolia network. So you have to make sure you toggle to Sepolia. So after toggling to Sepolia, you paste in your contract address in the search bar. So after you paste it in, you click on the contract. I'm coming. Can you give me a second? Let me close my windows. Okay, so I'm back. Sorry for the slight interruption. So as I said, after you've gotten to the contract page, you can have the contract information. Then under contract data, you go to code like this. Then you scroll down to contract ABI. Then you copy the ABI like this. Then you come here, then you paste it in as a JSON array. So you paste it and you save it. So that's basically how you import your ABI. So I don't know if that clarifies it. Uzubechi. Uzubechi, can you? Yeah, I see you giving a thumbs up. So I don't know if does anybody have any question. If you don't want to say it out loud, you can use the chat box to type whatever you need, and I will look into it and explain more. So are we clear? If you are clear, leave a thumbs up. Leave a thumbs up. Chisom, Joel, is everything going fine? Kojo, is it going okay? Prosper, Onyekachi, is everything going fine? Can you leave a thumbs up? in case everything is going fine. If not, just unmute and see what's going on. Okay, so seems like everyone is following along. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to, okay, I said the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to, so for the application, the connect functionality works perfectly. So when you click on connect, let's look at how the connect component works. So we have this connector components. We have two components in one. We have the connect modal and the connector. But the connector component is what is being exported like this. You see that we are only exporting the connector component, not the connect modal. The reason we have something like this, normally, maybe you might think that why don't we just remove this connect modal and create its own file for its own file. But in instances where you have a component that is not really used, it's not meant to be used in different places, it's only meant to be used as a sub component, you can do it in the same file. So you notice that in this connector component, that is the main component, we make use of the connect modal here. And throughout the application, it is only here that we make use of that component. So the connect modal is basically associated with the connector. So they go hand in hand together. So it makes sense to put them in the same file. So for the connect modal, this is basically the connect modal right here, where you have this overlay that blurs the background, and we have these two buttons. So in this connect modal, we have a prop called set is open. So this is a function that controls whether the modal is open or not. Then we have the first thing we are going to make use of. We are going to make use of this hook. So take note of this hook. This hook is called the use connect hook. This use connect hook is being gotten from Starknet React, so this hook basically helps us with the connecting of our wallet. So let's go to Starknet React so we can get more insights on that particular hook. So in Starknet React, under connectors, you see this use connect hook. So we see that this hook is a hook for connecting to a Starknet wallet, right? So to use it, we have to, first of all, we need to import the hook using import use connect from this, and that's what we did up here. So we imported it right here. Then the next thing we need to do is that we need to call the hook. This hook returns an object, and in that object contains a connect variable and an error variable, which we easily destructure here. So we have access to these variables. We have connect, we have connectors, we also have error, we also have, what are the other? So we also have we have connect async, data, error, reset. So these are the things that are being returned from that particular hook that you can make use of. So but for connecting, we only need the connect and the connectors. What is this connect? If you come here, you can see that this connect is actually a function like this. You can see the function. So this is a function to send the request to the user, optionally overriding the arguments to the hook. So this is basically a hook. This is the hook. This is the function. So the connect that is being returned is actually the function that we call to actually connect the dApp to a wallet, to a selected wallet. So after we've gotten these variables, so we are going to return JSX right now. So we have this first div. So this first div is the overlay. So we have the background of white, we have the opacity of 65. That's why we can see through the overlay. Then we have a background blur to blur the background. So we have this onClick function. So this is an event listener. So an event listener is an event listener is basically a prop that contains a function in case that event is fired off. But now this on click is basically an event listener for a click event. So a click is maybe you just click on your mouse. So whenever we click on this overlay, we want this function to be called. The function is that we want to set is open to false. That means we want to close the modal. So you notice whenever we click the overlay, it closes. So that is what the on click handler does. The next thing that we have is that we have this div that holds the two buttons that we need. So whenever the div around the buttons is clicked, we need to stop propagation, because what does this stop propagation do exactly? So whenever we open this modal, let me open. So we have this thing called development development tools. So if we inspect this, you can see that we have this is the div. This is the div that holds the two buttons. But this div is within this overlay. What is stopping the modal from closing whenever we click the middle of these buttons? Because after all, this is technically the overlay, right? If we click this, it's supposed to close. But what is stopping that is that we are calling this function called e.stop propagation. So what it does is that we stop the event from bubbling up to this. We stop it from bubbling up to this upper div and closing the modal. That's what it does in simple terms. I don't really want to go too deep into it, but that's how you can look at it. And we have this connectors.map. In React.js, we have this thing called mapping, where from what we've said earlier, what is these connectors? We already initialized our connectors before in our providers components. So if we come to our providers components, you see how we initialize our connectors. We initialize our connectors to be agents and bravos. So the connectors that we are mapping over is actually agents and bravos connectors. So for every connector that we have, what this map does is that for every connector that we have here, we want to create a button for it like this. So you notice that there are two buttons, but we only wrote one button here. So since there are two connectors here, it's going to return two buttons for us. So in each of the button, each button has the following props. We have the key. What this key basically does is that whenever we are mapping, we're mapping over an array, we need to specify a key in the JSX, in the elements returned, so that React can uniquely identify that element. So it's just for uniqueness. So this key is mandatory to be passed in. Then we have the onClick prop. So it's an event handler, as I mentioned before. So what this does is that whenever the button is clicked, we want to connect. We want to call this connect function, which we have gotten from use connect. So when you're calling this function, it takes in an object of the connector that we want to connect to. So this is the same thing as doing this. So we are passing in an object. So we are calling the connect function, and we are saying that we want this dApp to connect to this particular connector that is up here. You get me? So we are connecting to that connector. So the first one is bravos, the second one is agent. So if we click on this, we are connecting to bravos. That is what is happening here. But instead of doing it like this, you can just do it simply like this. After the connection goes through, we want to close the modal. That's what this set is open to false. That's what it does. Then we have class names. Then we have connect. Then we have connector.id. So in this connector object, we have an ID we have an ID variable. So the ID for this connector is Bravos. The ID for this one is Agents X. So you see how we make use of JSX. That makes it easier for us. So that's how this connector is being rendered. That's how we connect to our DApp. So I don't know, this might be a lot to take in. So I don't, there should be some questions. Or if there's anything you want me to repeat or go over, you can just say it now. So does anybody have any question? Does anybody want me to go over anything again? So if there are no questions, can you leave a thumbs up? So this meeting is actually being recorded, so you can actually go over it again later and see how it goes. So leave a thumbs up if you are following, if you understand everything I'm saying. Chisom, Kojo, Kojo, Onyekachi, Wisdom, Nicholas, Maxwell, Joel, Gideon, Okeke, Chisom. So since everyone is following, so that's how the connector works. So if you click on agents, you see your wallet pops up. I don't know if it's visible. So you pass in your password like this. Okay, then you see that it's connected. So we have this. So we have so that's it for the modal. Then we have these connector components here. This is the main component. The first thing you notice that we have this line here, which calls use states. Use state is a React hook that is used to manage state variables. So what we are doing basically, we are defining a state variable called is open. Is open. So when we call use state is imported from React like this. When we call use state, we pass in a default value. So by default, we want the value to be false. So use state returns an array, and we destructure that array to get these two items. We get the name of the variable and a function that we can use to alter that value. So we have is open and we have set is open. From this line, you can see that this state variable is a boolean. So it can either be true or false. So that's basically what this line does. Then we have another hook here, also from Starknet React, called use account. Let's go to Starknet React to see what that does. So we have use account. Use account is used to access the currently connected account, if any. That's what it does. And to use it is pretty similar. We first import it from here. Then we call the use account function hook. The use account hook returns the following for us. It returns address and status and others. So yeah. So it returns an account for us, address, connector, chain ID, status, is connecting, is reconnecting, is connected, is disconnected, and so on. So that's what it does. So that's what it does for us. Right? So to use it here, so we call use accounts, and the value that we're interested in is this address. So we return the address value. That's what this line does basically. Then what are we returning? So we are saying that the first thing we are doing is that if it's open, this is open variable is basically to control the state of the modal, whether it is open or not. If it is open, we want to create a portal. What create portal? Create portal is imported from React. What it does is that it is used to, you know how a portal works, like in Harry Potter or something, where you can maybe I can throw my laptop into a portal and it can pop and it can come out maybe in Lagos or Abuja. That's basically what the React portal does. So it takes in two arguments. It takes in the components that we want to throw and the location that we want to throw it to. So right now, we want to throw the connect modal component. Whenever is open is equal to true, we want to throw this value to document the body. So it's going to be like the first element in the body. So that is in layout. So it's basically throwing itself to layout.jsx. It's going to throw itself to body. So whenever the modal is open, it's like us having this here, connect modal. It's also like us having connect modal here. That's what that creates portal does. So whenever it's open, this appears here dynamically. So that's what it does. So that's what this line does. So this and means that it's called is an operator. It says that if and only if this is true, do this. That's what it means. So that means this create portal can only be done if and only if is open is equal to true. So I think it's a question. Yes, conditional ranging. It's conditional ranging. Thank you, Oluwafemi. So that's how it works. Then the next thing that we have another conditional ranging here. So we are saying that if there is no address, that means there's no connected user. We want to show the button that says connect wallet. If not, it should show an address bar. And that's something we can easily see here. Let me refresh. You see that because no user is connected yet, we see the connect wallet here. But the moment we connect our wallet, you see that something else appears here. So this is called an address bar, where we can see the address. We have a copy button where we can copy the address. We also have a drop down that we can use to disconnect the wallet. Is that clear? So that's what we are saying. So whenever there's no address, it should show that button. If not, it should show an address bar. So the button takes in a class name. So so for Tailwind, as I said earlier, Tailwind provides us these classes that we can easily use. So Tailwind has this class called py3, which sets the padding top and padding bottom to 12 pixels. It also has this class called rounded 2x, which sets the border radius to 16 pixels. We have things for background, text, and so on. So if you want to know more about Tailwind, what you could do is that you can go to the Tailwind documentation, where you can go to the docs. You can see the different classes available and so on. So for colors, you can see how you can apply certain classes to your application and all that. So that's how Tailwind works. So we have an on-click. So this on-click, when you click the connect wallet, we want to open the modal. So that's what is done here. We set is open to so what this does is that so if you want to set states based on the previous states, you do it like this, where you have an arrow function with a previous value here. So this is the previous state, and it's going to return the negative of that previous state. So if is open was set to true before, when you click this, it will change it to false. If it was false before and you click it, it will change to true. So that is basically what this line does here. So this is how it works. So we're out of time. So the last thing we're going to do for today is that we're going to do the disconnect functionality, because right now if you click on this arrow and you click on disconnect, it does not do anything. So we need to sort that out. So, and that disconnect functionality is found in the address bar component. So this address bar component is just basically CSS. So we have where we render our address like this. Then I think for the address, we should not even be doing it like this. We should make use of our helper functions like we defined earlier. So we have this helper function that says shorten address. So in our address bar, we can just, instead of doing this, you can just do the shorten address and just pass in address like this. So if you go back, you see that it's still the same thing. So we have this button. So we have this button that has the address. Then we have a copy button that is copy component. So if you copy it, you see that it copies the address for us. Then we also have this chevron. We also have this chevron that um this chevron here. So anytime we click it, it rotates and it opens up this down button. So we have this D for the disconnect. For the disconnect. So we have the button, the disconnect button right here. So you can see that the on click, the only thing that it does is that it sets it to false. That means it closes it. It just closes it. It doesn't disconnect the app at all. So we also have a state variable here that controls whether the disconnect button is visible or not. So let's implement the disconnect functionality. And to do that, you go to Starknet React. We have this use disconnect. So this is a hook for disconnecting the connected Starknet wallets from a DApp. So the first thing we need to do is that we need to import it like this. So we come to where we need it, we import it here like this. Then to use it, we copy this line here. So we just do it here like this. So the disconnect returns the following values. It returns a disconnect function, which we can call to disconnect. We have the disconnect async. We have the data. We have error, reset, reset, and so on. So that's how it works. So for now, we just need the disconnect function, but you can play around with it. Maybe if you want to practice, you can play around with the different values and see what they return. So to make use of this disconnect, what we could just it's as simple as coming to the button for disconnect wallet, then calling that function. So we call the disconnect function like this. And we don't need to pass in anything here. So this is how it works. So if we go back and we click on disconnect, you see that we go back to this connect button because it has been disconnected. And if we connect back and we go to agents and we disconnect again, you see it works perfectly. So it's as simple as that. It's not complicated. So this is going to be the end of today's class. In the next class, we are going to learn how to read from the contract and write to the contract. So, are there any questions? Thank you guys for sticking with me so far. So, is there any question from what we've done today so far? I don't know. I tried to break down these concepts because I know that maybe most of you are new to React. So I try to break it down and just make it beginner friendly. So I don't know if are there any questions that you might
Please,
have.
sir. Please,
So,
sir. Can you
yeah,
send the link to the Starknet React?
docs.
No, yeah. Please, I need
So,
the link.
yeah, so if you go to the slides that was shared, you see
Okay.
you see it's under Starknet React. You have this
Oh,
link that you can click.
okay.
Yeah, so
Okay, that's
that
cool. Thanks.
so is there any
Thanks.
other question? Is there any other question? If there's no question, just leave a thumbs up. Leave a thumbs up, quick. Leave a thumbs up, react. So, Kojo, Maxwell, Nicholas, Prosper, Wisdom, Onikachi. So since there are no questions, if maybe you are trying it before the next class and you have run into any issues, maybe you can drop it on the chat, then I will be sure to answer you, and maybe I will explain more in details in the next class. So just feel free to ask any questions in areas that you don't understand. So thank you guys very much for attending to this class. I hope it was fun. I hope it was something that you were able to gain new knowledge on. So I think we'll see in the next class. So thank you very much, everyone. Good night.